A single pellet of uranium fuel, the size of your fingertip, contains as much energy as 481 cubic meters of natural gas, 807 kilograms of coal, or 564 liters of oil. The nuclear power made from uranium is carbon-free, and nuclear plants that run on uranium have been made very safe over the years. But despite all these merits, nuclear power makes up less than 4% of electricity generated in India. Nuclear power was once favored heavily by the government because it served a dual purpose: capacity building for nuclear weapons and the promise of an abundant clean energy source. But this narrative has changed over the past few decades. Nuclear non-proliferation treaties have been signed. Other energy sources have been invested in heavily. Despite all its promise, nuclear power doesn't have the standing it once had in India's energy pie. In this video, we're going to explore the kinds of nuclear power, nuclear fuels, India's 3-stage nuclear energy program, and where it stands today. Nuclear power or atomic energy can be obtained in two ways: fusion and fission. Fusion is what powers the sun. Unsurprisingly, it needs extraordinary conditions to create fusion energy, and this is something many scientific and engineering teams are working on around the world. So far, fusion power is still in nascent stages of R&D. It is not commercially viable and probably won't be for another 6 to 7 decades. The second form of nuclear energy is fission. When some heavy elements like uranium split, it releases lot of energy in the form of heat. This heat is something we can harness to produce steam, which spins a turbine to produce energy. Unlike fusion, fission is commercially viable. There are over 440 commercial fission reactors in the world, and over 22 of them are in India. For fission, reactors need fuel. Uranium-235 and plutonium-239 are the most commonly used fuels for fission. They are fissile, which means that a small bombardment of neutrons creates a chain reaction in these atoms that produces lots and lots of heat. Theoretically, thorium can also be used as fuel, but it is not naturally fissile. It needs to be processed using irradiation to make uranium-233, which is fissile and usable in fission reactors. A legendary plan that goes back 7 decades lays out a way that India can utilize uranium, thorium, and spent fuel for energy. The visionary scientist and leader Homi Bhabha in the 1950s devised a plan to secure the country's long-term energy independence with nuclear power. This was a plan to utilize the abundant thorium reserves that India has in the coastal sands of South India and Odisha. The plan would involve making a series of reactors of different designs: stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and the byproducts of one stage would be used in later stages so that there is very little waste that is generated from these reactors. In stage 1, natural uranium is used as fuel in pressurized heavy water reactors, or PHWRs. These reactors are cooled and moderated by heavy water, also known as deuterium oxide or D2O. Another kind of stage 1 reactor is the light water reactor, which is similar to PHWRs except they are cooled and moderated using ordinary water. The byproduct from stage 1 reactors is plutonium-239, which is used in stage 2. There were a few reasons to select PHWRs for the first stage. Natural uranium oxides can be used as the fuel, and mined uranium can be utilized effectively for energy production. In other words, a completely indigenous array of stage 1 power plants could be established that run on natural uranium, either mined or imported. For stage 1, the entire fuel cycle can now be carried out in India, from prospecting of minerals and mining to processing of fuel, manufacturing of structural material, reprocessing of spent fuel, and safe storage of radioactive waste. There are limited reserves of uranium in India, but we have found ways of increasing indigenous uranium production and importing uranium under several nuclear cooperation agreements with many countries. So as far as uranium is concerned, supply is no longer an issue. All the operational nuclear reactors in India currently used for energy production are stage 1 reactors. There are 22 operational reactors in India, of which 18 are pressurized heavy water reactors and 4 are light water reactors. Stage 2 uses spent plutonium from stage 1 plants in what's called fast breeder reactors. These reactors are designed in such a way that they produce way more plutonium than they consume. This plutonium is very useful because it converts thorium into fissile uranium-233. India's first commercial fast breeder reactor, the prototype fast breeder reactor, is approaching completion at the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research in Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu. It is slated to be completed in 2024 after nearly 20 years under construction. The other breeder reactor operating in India, the fast breeder test reactor, also in Kalpakkam, managed to reach its design power capacity only in 2022, after 37 years of its operation. In stage 3, the reactors will burn uranium-233 from stage 2 reactors, and the fuel blanket is mainly composed of thorium. So about 2/3 of the reactor's power will be fueled by thorium. Thorium fuel bundles can last much longer than uranium fuel bundles. So the spent uranium-233 in stage 3 reactors would eventually be replaced by thorium, creating a fully thorium-fueled reactor. Kamini, or the Kalpakkam Mini Reactor, is the world's only thorium-based experimental reactor. It produces 30 kilowatts of thermal energy at full power. Kamini is fueled with uranium-233 produced by the thorium fuel cycle in the nearby fast breeder test reactor. The world's first thorium-based nuclear plant, Bhavani, using uranium-233 is currently under construction in Kalpakkam, Tamil Nadu. This is an indigenous, first-of-its-kind reactor that was initially expected to complete construction by 2011, then 2020, and the finishing of this construction still remains elusive. There are currently no commercial thorium reactors in India, but there are up to 62 reactors, mostly thorium-based, that are supposed to be operational by 2025. There has been no update as to the progress of these reactors, so we don't know if that timeline still holds. But India is the only country in the world with a detailed, funded, government-approved plan to focus on thorium-based nuclear power. Since the nuclear power industry is very conservative, and rightly so, the progress towards building thorium power plants has been painfully slow. There have been massive and expensive delays in construction for every single plant that has come up so far. As of 2022, India's 22 functioning reactors collectively contribute around 3% of the country's electricity generation. India's priorities have clearly shifted to align with global priorities to bolster renewable energy quotas. Unlike nuclear power, India has usually exceeded its targets and at far less cost in the area of renewable energy. Around the world, nuclear energy has taken a backseat because of a lack of public and political backing. The risks that reactors bring with them have stood out because of incidents like 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima. These accidents are exceptions and not the norm, but they've dampened the imagination of the public against nuclear energy. These disasters have created a skewed picture of how dangerous nuclear energy really is. All energy sources come with some risk. There is a legitimate way of measuring the risk of an energy source. It's a comparison of the number of deaths a type of energy has caused, either through accidents or premature deaths through pollution, to how much energy is generated from them. Deaths from water, wind, and solar power are extremely rare, making it very safe by this metric. Natural gas is less safe. Oil and coal are way more dangerous. Nuclear is comparable with renewables. But it is not safety alone that has been a concern. The economics of nuclear power has been another issue. Huge sums of money go into setting up of nuclear power plants. Most face unexpected hurdles in construction and cost overruns. The operating costs per unit of electricity tend to be higher than alternative energy sources. For these reasons, commercial interest in nuclear power plants has been very, very limited. The vast majority of nuclear power plants have been government funded and loss making. India's nuclear energy story is 70 years in the making, and we're making slow but sure progress. When it comes to thorium power, India is at the forefront of innovation. Many experts believe that India cannot meet its net zero targets without nuclear power. Many say it is a viable, albeit more expensive replacement for coal. But there are still some hurdles that India needs to address before realizing the power of nuclear energy. Making nuclear power financially viable means using indigenous designs for reactors. These indigenous reactors are taking a fair bit of time to design, but decades to construct and test. Because nuclear power plants are multi-billion-dollar investments in infrastructure, the required permissions, regulations, and approvals take years, but also involve a lot of public interest. The public in India, just like the rest of the world, is not convinced about the safety of reactors or its vulnerability to attack. Another hurdle stems from the fact that under India's nuclear liability law, equipment suppliers are liable for accidents. This doesn't help incentivize Indian industry, which could be a key partner in India realizing its nuclear power dreams. We have a solid roadmap. We have the talent to see it through. We have the raw material to make it a reality. The variables are the funding, the public interest, and the political will. Nuclear power is a game changer when it comes to clean energy. It's time we get our facts straight and understand that support for nuclear energy needs to be part of India's political and public mandates. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. There's a lot more from the world of clean energy coming your way on Biotic. Stay tuned. Have an awesome day.